Remember, I live alone here. I live alone. You can come here, but only you. Nobody else. Only you can come to the yard. You know she get fired. I work in the workplace and the camera in that room and she went.
All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. All right, good night, good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank, everybody, where you get the 60 to 90 minutes of fatherhood conversation for fathers, about fathers, and father issues. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight for joining us another night. We are having a part 2 of our topic, how can fathers protect and save children? And mainly we're having this conversation, if you've seen the pin now. Oh, and we're going to have an interesting guest tonight. I'm going to bring her on. So get ready, fathers. We have an interesting conversation tonight about continuing our conversation from last week. But I think we even have more reasons to have this conversation based on the news we got today about the young man, Carmelo Anthony, and his conviction of murder for another young 17-year-old in a scuffle. All right, so let me first, before we get to that, let me just go through the normal and thank our sponsors who are here to support our activities here at the Fatherhood Think Tank. Let's start with our first sponsor, and he said he would probably try to be here early on time. That's JAG Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. He definitely is a lawyer, attorney at law in South Florida. If you're looking for that type of lawyer, Johnny A. Gaspar, J. Gaspar at jaglaw.com, 305-827-8287. Or you can hit them at www.jag1law.com. If you're looking for that, we have our normal partnerships with the Fatherhood Initiative and chapters of Fort Lauderdale, Zeta Chi, and Fort Lauderdale. We also have our other partnership, Zeta's our new chapter of Omega Psi Phi. That is the Lagos, Nigeria's chapter. That supports us in our partnership of Fatherhood Initiative, and our other chapter in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Omega Lambda, Philadelphia Q's of Omega Psi, who is also a partner in Fatherhood Initiative and mentoring. So with that being said, let me get to the fathers. I want to thank our sponsors for supporting us, but we want to get to our conversation for tonight. And I want to get all the fathers to introduce themselves as normal. And then as we have a special guest, the night you come on, Rohan, you've been saying you wanted this. You got it, brother. So we'll get to hear some key viewpoints from the opposite sex who can give us a mindset of what we might be missing. And Lighthorn don't have to take on that mantle
Right.
as much as he do think for us to think about it, the other aspects sometimes that we do. So just want to first let me get welcome her to introduce herself, and then we'll go in with the fathers.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Hey, good people. It's special to be aligned with you tonight, and I come in alignment tonight, representing the Institute of Emotional Literacy. And Dr. Ron always appears on my segment on WBAI, just a radio station based out of New York. And so it's just an honor to be around the men who care, and sometimes the men that get overlooked. But it's nice to be a part of this group tonight.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Not everybody at once.
I know. Who's up next?
All right, I'll go ahead. My name is Rohan Rodok, and I'm a father of two young adults. And as I always say, it's an honor to be here, to learn and to educate and to sharpen blades, to advocate for our children and our young adults.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Tenney. I am a father of three young adults, ranging 31 to 37. I have three grandbabies, two on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. And as always, I'm happy to be a part of this conversation.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen. So used to saying gentlemen. Frenchie, how you doing?
I'm swell.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson. And it's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Philip Ross. I'm a father of 3, 2 daughters, and 1 son in the middle. As always, a pleasure to be here and waiting to be remotivated as usual every Tuesday.
Okay, all right. So we have everybody on board. Check 1, 2. Everybody hear me?
Clear.
Oh, okay, all right. All right. So I was on the wrong platform. So let's get into our conversation for tonight. In light of our conversation last week, and I think I'll say this, based on our conversation last week, I know that some of our partners are going to make a decision to really advocate educating people in our communities. That's the Fatherhood Mentor fraternities are going to start looking at educating people on jury selection, jury duty, and how important that is. So, Lightborn, that's a bang up to you, brother, for that that presenting that idea. And now we're going to take some people to run towards that and really push that idea, because we come to another week and we see a selection of jurors who I think the issue I had.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ron, did we see a selection of jurors, because this was not televised? And per my understanding, what is being suggested is that there are bots sending media around showing a jury that is, and it is not an accurate depiction of that jury.
Right.
Now,
I'm absolutely.
so
I'm
I
not
just
even
want to
saying.
put that out there as well, because that's important contextually, that because it was not televised, I don't think that we have seen or heard from the jury as yet.
Mhm. Well, I want to. We know that here's the difficult I have with this whole thing. That's why it's not a law show, but I want to be very clear is that I have a difficulty with the whole case because I don't know what's true and what's not true. When I seen that he was convicted, I don't know if I believe that yet. I don't know if that's true or not true. I don't know what in this situation of this the privacy and the I guess the protection of this case doesn't let us know. But what I do know is I have some issues and some concerns about how people was betraying his father because his father wasn't taking the leadership role to be the spokesperson or the speaker for his family in reference to his son. And I found it just touched me in a way to say, here we are coming to another place where people are kind of saying, hey, the dad was in the background. He let the mom do all the talking. He didn't take this role to do this or do that. And I think that comes from people who may not understand that when you have a marriage, and I like to say sometimes when you have a marriage, you're not an individual in a marriage. It's like having a company. Companies have a person who's the best spokesperson to be able to deliver things to everybody for that company. And I don't know if that's what happened in this situation, but I'm always looking at a positive option for why things can happen instead of saying that this is why the son did this and why, because now you're starting to see, and I also seen a lot of videos of their family interaction. Right, somebody made this collage of the young man's family, and the father was the leading the family. He was driving the car on trips. The father and the family was taking pictures. And so I wanted to throw that out to you guys in reference to thinking of this idea that people becoming judgmental or questioning the young man's father for not showing a certain type of leadership or to be a certain way, ultimately saying this is the reason why he ended up acting or being caught in this situation. That to me is, and I definitely want to hear from what are you thinking about that idea, and how do you kind of see this idea of individual versus family presentations.
I
Well,
have a
that's go ahead. Oh, you well, go ahead. Go ahead, Frenchie. Handle your business.
uh what this shows up to me as is compartmentalized anti-racism. And we have these compartments that we assign to Black men, and we have these compartments that we assign to Black women, which is the biggest tragedy because we've all suffered. And what if perhaps we don't know the backstory? What if he did not speak and the lawyer said it's best because right now in this political climate where they live, hearing a Black man might be problematic to the case? And that real leadership is not about having the first and last word. Real leadership is about teamwork and working with everybody's talents, capacities, and ministries. That is what real leadership is. And so to designate that he is not showing leadership skills because he did not speak and mom spoke is how we began to compartmentalize the family when it should not be compartmentalized. It does not belong there. And we're going to have to do a lot more work to decompartmentalize our positions in each other's lives.
Interesting.
Well, as for me, you hit it on the head, Frenchie. I see it as good business, and here's why. The reason it's good business because one of the I think top 3 principles of having a successful business or doing good business is the ability to delegate authority. Now, in any other instances, if he was to step out front and say something, then he would look dominant. See, he's in what they call a lose-lose situation anyway, because he would look abrasive, dominant, and it'll seem like, oh, he couldn't let the mama speak, and she's just an equal a parent as he is, and different things like that. And so I think it was very wise to play his position, to know that when to be a protector and who's a promoter. And in this situation, instinctively and intellectually, he's in protection mode because his son is on the line right now. And the life of his son and the freedom of his son is on the line. The mom is more equipped to be a promoter because that's just her makeup. That's her conditioning. She knows how to promote her son. She knows the narrative of her child. You understand? When our narrative and our roles.
And that's also protection, though.
Correct. Exactly.
Right?
No,
These behaviors are not gendered.
I agree.
I mean, she's been protecting her baby since he was in the womb.
I would not.
So she's as much the protector as dad is the protector. And in these instances of protection and promoting should not be divided by our subconscious conditioning of separating one another.
Well,
we're very frustrated that the Black father had to leave the home because of systematic government entities dividing us. And here we see this beautiful unit together coming in the time of crisis, and we ourselves are creating these divisions that don't even exist between them.
Well, technically it's not a division, it's a strategy. And that's what I'm saying.
I think you're muted. I see you speaking.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You hear me? You don't hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So
I've lost sound.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
Okay, so
I thought I saw you responding. I just didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we can't allow our
I'm losing sound.
Y'all can still, the rest of you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, she may have to log off to log back in.
Right.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. Be right back.
Okay. But to the point she was making, I'm like, yes, I see that point of view, but I understand that when it comes to that particular ideology and strategy, that the fact that they can come together, you understand, and actually said, okay, you designate, you take this lead on this role, and I'll take the lead on this role. It's not so much because I think sometimes we can get caught up in gender role, and I'm not against the fact that sexism exists, racism exists, classism exists, but I can't say I'm gonna we're victimized by particular ideologies, be it racism or gender or whatever the case may be, and then see a unified strategy happen and still try to explain it. And still, when I'm trying to explain it and give some kind of narrative or context to what we saw, then it's still compartmentalized as the same thing. So I have to push back on Frenchie and disagree with that. But what I do see, and when I'm going to give particularly a narrative from a male perspective, from a father perspective, then yes, I do understand what lane to run in, specifically when it comes to strengths and weaknesses. And so if these, you got to remember, these two people had a child together that both of them are advocating for right now at this particular point. And when you have both of them, so both of them, yes, both of them are in defense mode, and both may be in promotion mode. But at the same time, one, when it comes to one is going to be stronger than the other when it comes to both aspects, be it promotions or protection. And so I think with these two, I don't know if they're still married together. I don't know if they're nuclear family. I don't know the circumstances. But the fact of the matter is they are active, present parents. And so I can't let the ideology scream louder than the actual strategy that they use to actually present themselves when it came to protecting their child.
Well, let me say this. I want to be very clear about my perception of what that was that's happened, because of when I seen the time that the mother was talking, the initial time she was talking about the threats that was made to her and her family, and to her children, and to her husband. And I think that I think them as a unit knows that the emotionality of a black man, father or not, is the same thing that ultimately, as we see, that caused his son to be found guilty. His son is accused of the way people have described it, brutally murdering some innocent guy who did nothing to him. He just came there. This is the narrative. And so when we know the history of this country, and I told somebody this earlier today, if this was 1956 or 1946, 1936, the people who even testified in the trial who were black people who said, I'm testifying against him, and I see the young man who lost his life as a brother and this and that, all the people would have been slaughtered. All the people would have been hung from trees. They were destroyed. The history shows us that. The history shows that if you show strongness, even if you show that you don't want somebody to tread on you, because we know that that's a big thing in our society, that don't tread on me. We know for black people, if they don't want somebody, especially a black man, don't want somebody to tread on them, you become the aggressor, even though that they may be doing something. If you defend or speak for yourself, it becomes a threat for the other person. And in that threat, the societal construct accepts whatever happens to you and then utilizes that narrative that you were the aggressor or the person. So I think exactly like you said, like Born, it was a strategy that was to be able to get their point across without fanning more flames on the fire that's already there. And I don't like to, go this over, what if and what that. I'm really focusing on now, how does this family operate now? How does this father, what does he do, and how does he manage having his two other children that he has to raise, knowing that his son was caught in this type of situation where now he may be spending the rest of his life in prison, based on whoever the people who made the decision to do so allegedly being his peers. And that to me is a whole other story in itself. But
Ron, you mentioned, I want everyone to be clear about peers. Your peers can be your schoolmates, your friends, but that jury is not your peers. It is a facade. They are strangers who don't know you. There are people who may have bias against you. So we need to, again, protect our children by teaching, as you mentioned earlier, teaching your children the loopholes, how the system in certain location can go against you. And I'm very surprised that case the trial occurred in that location. I like to speak to that lawyer. Said immediately, right off the bat, we don't even get the fair trial. Let's go somewhere else. So even me as a layperson say, hey, come, what's going on here? Who knows who's doing what? Is someone trying to wrap this case up? It really opens. It creates a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we have many things are being done the old-fashioned way. And as you can see, you know what's strange about people? If there's a car accident, say I-95, you'll see different cultures come out and help that person, pull that person out of the car, because we do have that human to help people. But unfortunately, after we help that person out of the car, 911 takes a person to the hospital, we go back to our daily lives with our daily cultures, daily beliefs, and sometimes some of those cultures are bad. We need to come together in crisis to help everyone. But unfortunately, that's not always the case.
I would just like to add into remind families, particularly Black families and families of color, that the judicial system has never operated for the sake of justice. First and foremost, it has never been about justice. It has been about serving what I understand to be wealthism. And it will always serve wealth. It is not here. This is why someone like O.J. Simpson could get away with domestic violence and then somehow supersede that particular case, as opposed to when we see someone in California getting beat by police officers. It was about wealth. And so as long as we identify that this system is about wealthism and how we do not align with wealthism, or the few families that do align with wealthism, then we can proceed understanding where we can rely on safety. That's first and foremost. It doesn't matter whether you're a Black man or a Black woman. If you do not have wealth, you're going to be seen in the judicial system the same way. That just has to be said before all other things, because when it comes to speaking about fathers, if the father is not wealthy, we're still in the same position.
Interesting.
So I have a question. Are we collectively saying that this kid bears no responsibility at all for his actions based on at least what I've heard? I'm afraid to sound controversial, but I believe that today's kids who are teenagers are subjected to a culture of, I think, depending on, the given area, how they were raised, this Black culture has emboldened, enraged, has created emotional time bombs that probably facilitated what went down. And just from the little facts that I know, and I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. He's at a sport event. He's hiding out from the rain, if you will, in the opposing competitor's tent. and just from a sports ethics point of view, it's kind of like if you're on the sidelines at a football game, the teams don't cross. You don't sit on the other sideline. So when he was asked to move, uh, a transaction went down to where ultimately he felt like he was in fear of his life and he stabbed somebody. From a sports culture, not even an ethnic or racial culture, just from a sports culture, I'm thinking he should have never been on that side of the tent in the first place. So I guess I'm not on the side of the masses in our culture who is saying that this kid should not have been pronounced guilty for his actions. But I'm thinking he pulled a knife on this kid. And I don't know.
All right. So I got a question to that. How you doing, Von Howard? Sorry, I got on late. Father of 2, married now 19 years coming up. So I'm listening to that question of the question, and given what happened in the story that has been stated, it was raining. He was protecting himself from the rain, right? Protecting himself from the rain. Went to an opposing team sideline, right? Now again, protecting himself from the rain. How did protecting yourself from the rain? What transacted in that time frame of protecting himself from the rain to having to some instances defend his life, right? Or protect his life? We're saying yes, the right now the verdict is, of course, he's found guilty, but nobody's really saying what got to that point within that minute, 2 minutes, or whatever the case may be, from him being protected from the rain to having to pull a knife out to protect his life. And then unfortunately it was the demise of another young man. Like, are we looking at this as he shouldn't have just been over there? Because I personally, and again, we can agree to disagree. It takes a little bit more for me to be on the sideline being protected, from wind and rain, to having to protect my life without being in some instance instigated, so to speak. So I think that's the crux of this actual question. What caused that to actually happen?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question, Vaughn, and I'm glad that Tenny brought this, because thank you, Tenny, for resetting things, because I don't want this to seem like we are on any side, because this conversation is about fathers. And on the other side, the young man who lost his life had a father as well, right? And so the question is, how can fathers protect? Because last week we was talking about how could Cyrus' father had protected him, and what could Cyrus have done different not to have been killed by Mr. Charles, right? And so the same thing operates for both of these young men, right? I'm saying, what is it that they have got from their fathers that it would end in one of them being accused of killing the other over sitting out of the rain? I think that's our bigger thing is, what are we doing? What have we done as fathers to teach our kids about anything about good sportsmanship? Because I think a lot of focus has come on, why did the young man have a knife? And I find that to be like a little bit of a deflection, because even people that was going into the courtroom, that the courtroom forgot that they were bringing their knives to the court and had to go take them back to their car, because many people in our society not only carry knives, but they carry guns. So I don't want to get away from that part. I want to really stay focused on how did these two fathers and what did they do to ultimately put their sons in these positions that one could have just said, whatever, man. Or could have went to what kids supposed to do. Let's keep it 100. I'm a teacher. I teach every day. A kid hits another kid. The first thing I go and say, why did you hit him? Because he hit me. Well, why did you come tell me he hit you? Because you took something into your own hands because maybe they don't have the skills.
So Ron, really quick. So I want to go back to the comment that was made about the Black culture and what's going on with the Black culture, right? I think part of the problem is both from a parent perspective as well as definitely from a child's perspective. Nobody really knows or really takes the time to understand what the Black culture is and has a false nomer of what it entails. So when you're looking at what society is trying to project, what determines what the Black culture is, it's very imperative when you go back to talking specifically about fathers. And it's so funny that you're saying this because shameless plug, this upcoming Sunday, we're going to host a call that specifies about Black men, have we lost our way, specifically when it comes down to Juneteenth and stuff like that. Are we telling our story, right? But with that being said, are we telling our story? Do we even know the story to tell from a Black man's perspective, or from a Black culture? So when we look at what Black culture is, it's a false nomer of what society, i.e. your television or, your Instagram life, your TikTok life, and even some wannabe thug life, don't even really know what the Black culture is. And half of these dudes don't even live in the Black community to even discuss what the Black culture is. So I think the crux of the matter is really truly identifying what our culture is and what it was built on. And that was actually unity and camaraderie and family and togetherness. What's happening now is a false nomer that we're all portraying and saying that this is the norm, when in actuality it's not, and we're okay with being silent about it.
Ron, I often say that violence is not mental, it's environmental, right? And so let's just build on Teeny's point, which is an excellent point. I can build on it because I can see both sides, and I can definitely come up with a neutral perspective on why what happened. And so we all said this guy, it started from the Black young man trying to shelter himself from the rain under the opponent's tent or the opposing team's tent. Before
hold on. One thing. I think that and Fritz, we appreciate this. Let's be clear. Mm-hmm. The transcript from the trial says that he went over to see a friend that he known at that tent, was welcome there, someone had moved. This is all transcript. Moved, let him sit next to the friend as they was talking about whatever they was talking about while he was there. So I just want to put that there because this is where it becomes somewhat like this idea of invading into somebody's space, like he went into their space as he wasn't welcome, and he was there talking to somebody who he knew. Right. So to be clear, so just want to put that because I think that
Ron, I'm going to be honest with you. There's no need to put it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because again, I said violence is not mental; it's environmental. And so let's just give the facts. The facts of the matter is you add a competing event, right? And when you add a competing event where you have opposing teams, then that already creates the environment for, number one, hostility, in some cases violence. And the reason I can say that, because I'm like, I don't see how we can put that type of, or that level of responsibility or accountability on children when we can't even handle it as adults. And so when we're talking about statistics and systemic, I think we ought to have systemic and statistic arguments. And the problem is oftentimes we don't. And so statistically, when you look at camaraderie with kids, all the way now, it's even spilling over into graduations now. The fact that the environment is so toxic, especially at sporting events, you understand? It's a given. So the likelihood of that happening, because it was a sporting event, it should have been a factor. And so that's one thing. The other thing is the fact that the overcharging of this child. Teeny, I agree with you 100%. He should have been charged with something. Murder is not it, because none of that incident actually justifies murder. What I think is and this is for about the last 20 years, and I'll be honest with you, this is our fault. When we talk about Vaughn, talk about what the black is, let me show you what black is, Vaughn. Anytime you saw, because I think Martin Luther King says that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Well, that's what we experience in the day. Because when we saw them overcharging other black people for different things, I mean, I knew, and I was always pissed off by that. I watched the Diddy thing, and I'm like, I know they ain't finna try to take this potential domestic violence and turn it into a sex trafficking thing, and they did. And we sat right there and allowed it to happen. And so it's not so much about we don't know our own narrative. We allow people to create narratives for us, and we don't check them and say, hey, man, no, this is not that. But when you in the habit, and we're in the habit of making money off of making this, that, and as long as it doesn't fit our cup of tea, then what we do is we turn a blind eye to it. And it's not, and the truth of the matter is, nothing has really changed much. Because I think as long as it's not my family, my city, my community, you understand, then I can turn a blind to it. But we have to really figure out what the science of an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. What does that mean? And how does that look like in this situation? Somebody could have stepped out, and we don't often call our state. And this is another thing we could have done. You could have called your state attorney's office and made sure they charged that kid appropriately. You understand? That's what justice looked like. He was not charged appropriately. They made it seem like he just intended to just go over there, and he had it all planned out from start to finish, as if no altercation started, as if no combatant, because you still had two combatant people. You had the black young man and the white young man who approached him in a combative way. That's what makes it the manslaughter. But to charge him with murder just to show you, and this is not so much to show that family, or this is to show black people. You understand? In Texas, you understand? We can do what we want to. We can charge you the way we want to charge you, because ain't much change. And here's another thing that we don't understand why our power is at. The majority of our young generation and our children are moving to Texas. I got children living in Texas right now. I got nieces and nephews staying in Texas right now. So what does the strategy and the equity look like when it comes to fostering justice through our children? And what do their equity look like when it comes to pushing back on that type of narrative? Because I'm like, it's him today, but you tomorrow. Just as long as they can overcharge that kid today, they will be overcharging your children tomorrow. I'm gonna leave it right
let me bring this back, because as we had this conversation, I want to keep it very focused on this idea, the culture of what the fathers presented to their sons, right? And we know that, and we don't have to talk about it. We understand that the history of the country gives us this racial divide, and in that case in point, a lot of times, you know, they have that saying, I'm not my ancestors, right? That whole thing, I'm not my ancestors. So, and I think that works in both capacities, right? It works in both capacities when we look at this, and how looking at the fathers and how, and again, this is not fair to put to light, but I just want you to see, because one father's reaction in this whole situation was extreme, right? But I think it would be because I lost my son, right? The things he did when he went to the courthouses, when he was upset of losing his child and some of the things he did. But also that also gives us a just a little, maybe a flash of what kind of person he was teaching his children to be in a time of stress, a time of anger, a time of mad. Vice versa, we talked earlier about Anthony's dad and how he has really have played a very big back in the back, not being front, not being forward, not making too many statements, really kind of staying in a back strong position. And sometimes that makes me, curious about like, hey, what we teach our children, how they see us act, what they hear us say, usually ends up what their learned behavior become when they go into the world and interact with other people. And I want to really look at that, because is this to say that Anthony's father was teaching him that if somebody do something, and again, I think this is understanding, and Vaughn made a very good point about this, understanding Black, what is said in some departments of Black culture, right? There is a very clear thing that we grew up understanding that if somebody hit, I hear it today, and I have to tell parents that that's unfeasible. But that's not that it changed the history. If somebody hits you, you hit them back harder. Don't be that stumping boy. Don't let them bully you. Don't let those things. And it's for people like myself to say, no, don't do that. Come and tell somebody, and let's try to do some conflict resolution. Let's do these things. But it's hard if in your culture, in your home learned behavior tells you to do certain things, because clearly in both instances, one parent has maybe told their child, if somebody do something to you, and it may not have been everybody do something to you. If certain people do something to you, you do this to them. And then it might have been also in another part in the other family's culture, don't let these people be around you. And don't let them in any space that you in. And if there is, you're gonna put them out that space. And so we're looking at, again, I'm just hypothesizing, I'm not saying this is what happened, but we're looking at how this can operate where kids learn these type of behaviors from us as their parents, as their fathers, and how we interact in the world.
Dr. Also, Ron, I want to give you a heads up. This is Vincent, by the way. I got 4 kids, 2 biologically. He actually went to that event, and they knew each other. They was rivals. I'm talking about Carmelo and Anthony. These boys know each other. They didn't grow up with each other, but their teams are rival teams. When he went out there, he knew one of the boys that was in the tent, but the other 2 boys, the white boys, he got into it with them boys before. So this ain't nothing new. This was what I'm finding out. And but everything died down. At least that's what he thought. But one thing about, I'm not trying to say make this a black or white thing, but this let's keep it real. They act like they was cool with them, and then everybody ganged up on him because they knew he was from that other school, and telling him that, and they already didn't like him. So once they found something to not like him about again, then the anger had built up, and they try to attack him. That's what the brother was insinuating, that we were just trying to push him out, and then things got escalated, and then they try to fight him out of the tent. Come to find out, they had fight him out of the tent, but they didn't realize he had a knife. Once he pulled out the knife, that's when things happened. And to go back to what you were saying about being a father, see, Carmelo Anthony's father was not there. You're 100% right. And I think that affected him too, about just protecting himself. He just realized he got to protect himself. That's why he was carrying around a knife, especially around that area in that city. Kids gonna have weapons because they know that they can't really carry around guns. So if not a knife, it's gonna be a mace. If not a mace, it's gonna be a razor. And since I'm a younger father, I'm 39, but I know around the generation that we in right now, you'd be surprised about the kids these days. These kids are ready to to carry around any type of object that can be a weapon.
Well,
So it's that bad these days.
he brings up a very valid point.
Mhm.
Like Burn said, that sometimes you gotta blame the parents or the society. The society today is polarized. Think about it. If you notice, some kids, suicidal rate is on the rise, mental illness is on the rise. Uh, People are angry. Road rage is on the rise, and it's becoming the norm. And that's a problem when it becomes the norm, right? Because then, if the norm, that means that's what everybody's doing. He just mentioned it. He just said it right. If it ain't a razor blade, it's a gun. It's a whatever tool to defend yourself, to protect yourself. So is it 19? Is it 1936 or 1945 or 2026? What where are we really? Where are we in terms of numbers, in terms of behaviors, attitude, laws? Many people don't even know majority of those laws. Those prosecutors have laws that they'll charge with 10 laws, and then they know that at least one out of the 10 is gonna hit you. And some of those laws are intentional. Those laws are going to catch you. If they don't catch your head, it's going to catch your foot, and you're going to be prosecuted. And let's be real here. Many people don't even know, who do numbers, that the prisons are getting old. They need to be replenished.
Can we also call out that Texas is an open out? So when Lightborn spoke to the environment being violent, uh, and you have you're in this MAGA territory, open carry, and it is very clear that culturally you have whiteness that understands that no matter what it instigates, whiteness will not police itself. And so contextually, we have to look at all of these varying circumstances, which is so tragic because we're really not addressing the violence in that state. We're not addressing how, we don't even speak to the amount of domestic violence that has been rising, particularly around this administration, that it has grown. We don't talk about the white men killing their wives at 4 times the rate that happen in other cultures. We're not talking about all the violence at large and how it spills over onto our children, onto us, in our communities, both individually and collectively. That conversation is not had often enough. Um, Carrying a knife, kids hunting at 6 years old is a norm in Texas. Kids going to the distillery with their parents is a norm in Texas. So while we are outside of Texas taking an aerial view over this, I think contextually it is not just what are dads going to do with their children and with their sons, and what can they do. You have to look at a historic white hegemonic mob that perpetually and genetically raises their children to believe that they can co-opt any space and that there will not be a consequence. And
That
so our children have to learn how to master a type of racialized intelligence that no other child will ever have to navigate. So
Hundred
part
percent.
of being that dad is also instilling not only an emotional literacy, but a racialized literacy component to that as well, particularly in a space like Texas.
That may be true of Texas. I grew up on the west side of Chicago. And the west side had such a reputation that even the people who lived on the south side of Chicago would not venture to enter into the west side of Chicago. That's how bad it was. Um, my parents protected me by instilling in me knowing where the borders are of where I could ride my bike, where I could walk, knowing where the borders were. They instilled in me that when the lights come on, when the street lights come on, your butt better be in the house. And there were consequences if I didn't adapt to those rules that they set. And these were rules that were unwritten, that were explained to me as a kid growing up on the west side of Chicago. And not every kid was told those rules. And some of those same kids didn't get a chance to grow up, have an adult life. Chicago was definitely not MAGA territory. Never has and probably never will be. There was a culture of gang violence. You had the gangster disciples, you had the vice lords, you had the Latin kings. I grew up with all of that stuff. And somehow I made it out alive. One of the reasons that I think helped me is that I went to a South Side school because I knew that going to a West Side school was going to be counterproductive for my education. I at least knew that much. So I say all that to say is that if you are raising children, you have to understand where you're living, what the unwritten rules are, so you can be able to explain that to your kids for their survival. When I moved to South Florida, things were a little bit different here. I didn't raise my kids in an all-Black community. It was a multi-ethnic community that I raised my kids in. But some of the basic principles that my parents instilled into me, I instilled into my kids. And Dr. Ron, you had mentioned this before. I specifically told my kids that if they got 3 strikes. 1, if you mess with me, you're getting a warning. 2, if you mess with me, I'm gonna go tell the teacher. 3, if you mess with me and after I've told the teacher and gave you a warning, I'm gonna hit you dead in your nose. And I train all my kids to defend themselves, and that if they got into trouble, that I will be right there with them in the principal's office. And if any of those 3 rules were violated against them, I would defend them to the T. I think something has gotten lost. I mean, these kids are not growing up in a vacuum in Texas. They understand, they should understand the perspective in which they live. And they need to be able to act accordingly. In Texas, being not only a football state, but just a competitive in nature, like Born, you alluded to this, they just compete in everything, sports-wise, in Texas. And I cannot for the life of me understand, I don't know. I'm not able to digest.
But
why.
I'm going to call this out.
Sure.
um, whiteness only knows competition because it does not experience joy.
I'm sorry.
It does not know joy.
I,
Whiteness does
you have to explain that one to me.
Whiteness does not know joy. That's why it always needs competition. Whiteness does not know joy. That's why it always needs competition. Whiteness does not know joy. So culturally, Blackness, no matter what environment or space it is, collectively will find and understand joy. You could be the poorest of the poor. You could be in the top 5%. But you come together collectively with a type of joy. We are living under this regime where billionaires and trillionaires are so miserable that their only mission is to make everybody else miserable because they lack
with that.
joy.
I really disagree with that. I am not. I have to push back a little bit. I am not absolving our responsibility as humans.
Ron, I'm sorry, King. Ron, you got a serious feed. Because it's like back, I can hear them like twice.
It might be somebody.
Yeah, gotta be someone else because it's not him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that did it.
Yeah. I'm just not at the point where, I want to blame, whiteness on, I don't know, humanity in and of it. If there's anything you want to blame, I'd blame humanity because we're sinful people. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, people just do wrong. And if we want to victimize our responses to whatever culture, I don't know. I'm just not there with you on that one. I hear you. I'm not there with you though on that one.
Well, and this is specifically why I said whiteness and not white people. The institution and the structure of whiteness is different than just saying white people. And I was very, very intentional about the language that I use. But I do not find humanity in whiteness. There is no humanity in whiteness. You cannot skin children, eat people, vote for this administration and find humanity in that. That is not humanity.
I disagree.
And that happens. That's why we're here.
I don't think we need to dehumanize the white culture in order to justify inhumane treatment. If you're inhumane, you're just inhumane, regardless of whatever culture you're coming from. That's my opinion.
Well, keep this in mind, folks. Keep this in mind. We have two young men. Their frontal lobe may not be fully developed. We're talking about two young men with a lot of adrenaline. Because we've all been there. We've all played games. We've been there. Everyone in this medium and on online, we've been there. And what do we really want to do? We want to teach them. We want to teach our young children, both girls and boys, some of the coping skills. How to deal with anger, how to have, as Lionel mentioned, good sportsmanship. It's really, think about it. These are learned behavior, and we really want to teach them to unlearn those behaviors and learn to be sportsmen. Because again, anger is a big issue. It is not going away, regardless of whatever we say in this medium. Those are some of the core issues here that is affecting all of us. And the reality, Just think about this. Two people who are angry. What's going to happen? Two people who are angry over something that's probably trivial to us, but maybe important to both of them. And here we are discussing it. And as we move forward, we have to make some changes.
Let me listen. I will fully agree 100 about the humanistic viewpoint of everything. Because I see it when we operate in the humanistic mindset, we all bleed the same. We all have the same issues. We all face the same thing. But I think sometimes what's problematic is when we can see that there's a difference and we don't understand what the difference is. I'm going to point in case. Same state, same type of situation. In 2022, two young men got in a fight in the bathroom during the prom. One stabbed the other one, four stab wounds. He so happened to be able to get bail because he said that he was being jumped by the other guys. He was being jumped in the bathroom. He was able to get bail. This happened at the school. He was able to get bail, and he was acquitted, found not guilty of murdering that person. And so when I hear a case like this, and if we looked at it in humanistic prospect and say, oh, as a human, look at this human killed this other human, but they were found not guilty. How could that be? What was the circumstances? What was it? Why would that be? I guess the problem becomes is that this person getting off fits the narrative of whiteness, right? So this was a white person and a Hispanic male who was killed. And it's funny that this case of Anthony and Metcalf got so much publicity and was just like Rohan said, was polarized to bring in this context that we know that is a problem in our country. When you had a case 2 years prior, same type of incident, same result, one young man, 16 and 17, one young man dead at the school in the bathroom, and one goes to trial and he's found not guilty by a jury of his peers, whoever that jury was. And it just seems sometimes it just seems suspicious. Very suspicious on how these cases come out, because I'm agree with you. I'm agree 100% with you, Ed. On the south side of Chicago, the west side, right here in Philadelphia, down in Miami, in DC, there are Black people having aggressions with each other every day. And some of them is resulting in them actually killing each other. And we know nothing about it. We never hear about it. You might hear somebody, family member, upset, saying my family member died, to get a t-shirt, what have you. But we don't, there is no concern about that humanity. But what you do see a lot of times in the court proceedings is sometimes the person who's did this not their first time in an incident like this. And I always question and ask myself, how is it that this person is not getting a first-degree murder charge? And how are they not being convicted? And listen, that's two Black people. I'm just trying. For me, it becomes a systematic system thing where the system. Now I'm going to put on. I'm just going to be honest. I put on my hat, my little aluminum hat, and I'm going to look crazy saying it. But sometimes I feel like it is very suspicious. It is a system set up to do exactly that, to let people who they know can cause havoc in our communities go. I see police harass decent citizens. Hardcore criminals, they don't even waste their time with. They let a hardcore criminal commit multiple of crimes and killing and robbing and killing and robbing, not to ever catch them. Then when they do catch them, somehow they're able to have so many things go wrong that they get out on a technicality and they're back in the streets committing more crime, killing somebody else's child. A regular young man like this who did something, and yes, it's not right. I'm never advocating people taking somebody's life, but I'm looking at a bigger thing that we should be looking at as fathers, mainly us as Black fathers, be looking at is that this system, and we need to educate our children and understand. I think that and I was even say the way that you describe the 1, 2, 3 steps. If listen, 1, 2, 3, and if that doesn't happen, you have to defend yourself. In this case, in the Anthony case, Anthony didn't do that, and he's at. But that may not be what his parents taught him. They might have taught him, if you feel in danger, act. And so I think that we have to start thinking about the system that we're in and be mindful of teaching our kids what is the system that we're in. That a Black boy, and I go back to Cyrus, people made the biggest deal about Cyrus having a gun, as he just had a gun for fun. No, Cyrus had a gun because he knew in his community he was in fear. And the only thing that most people, why they get guns, is because they're in fear. If he had no fear, it would be no need for him to get a gun. Just like it would be the average citizen who go and purchase a gun. They don't purchase a gun because they are gun enthusiasts, because they have fear that something's going to happen to them. They've read and seen something will happen, and they would like to think about their own survival. So I want us to, think about how, as fathers, do we present that to our children and understand the dilemmas that they may go through in having fear of living in this world that is very dangerous. But then also in another point of how is sometimes a double blind for how they got to operate. Because if you don't have something, you become the person they gonna get. If you have something, now you're the person who about to get sent up the river because you did something. So it's kind of like this double blind. And how do we protect and keep our children safe from that type of system that's going on in our society today?
Your narrative it kind of explains it, because you're saying, or the narrative is simply saying there's a difference between a justice for victims and victimizing people with justice, right? Mm-hmm. And so anytime something happened, of course we want justice for the victim, but at the same time, systemically, when systemic injustice come in, then that is defined by victimizing people with justice. And I think, and that's what we see in this particular case. But then again, that's what we always see, because I'm like, I got to first justify things change. You understand? And look at the history first. You understand? To determine what type of system do they function in. So is the justice equitable in Texas? You understand? And what do the laws look like in Texas to say that it's actually justice that's actually being disseminated or distributed? You understand? And so is Texas even capable? And back to your point, Tenny, is Texas even capable of distributing humanistic justice? And if I look at the laws on the book, strategically and statistically, the answer would probably be no. And so that's where the real justice come in at. And then we'd have to determine where's the injustice at when it comes to systemically, where's the injustice? Back to the point, is it just racially? And everything Frenchie says, she just pretty much covered it all, because she says it's not just racially, but it's racially, it's sexually, and it's financially, economically. And so I would have to agree to that. Most injustices are racial, sexual, and financial. And so how does that look like on the books in the very place that you're trying to get justice? And I think a lot of times in most states, if not America as a whole, we may fall short when it comes to looking at those books, because a lot of laws on the books are very antiquated. And I think they're antiquated by design, because if we're using justice as in a traditional sense and not a judicial sense, and the judicial sense reflect the traditional sense, then we're still in trouble. You understand? Because nothing has really evolved to actually serve the society that we are now if we're still trying to govern with the laws we had then.
You know, Lightburn.
Well, remember,
Go ahead, French.
Remember, it's our judicial system that killed, and our connectors to the judicial system that killed, that arrested Fannie Lou Hamer, that killed, Freddie Hammond, that MLK, Malcolm X, like that was our judicial system at work. It's the same judicial system. And again, while everyone may not see it that way, that system is because it has no humanity. And if you think about the purveyors of that system and who that's aligned with, that just has to be my assessment personally. I can only look at who you continue to arrest. I can only look at who you continue to murder. I can only look at how many innocent people are released from prison, and 60% are people who look like me, who were on death row unfairly, unjustly. I can only look at the facts that are presented in front of me and say, there is no humanity here.
Well, you know what? I think we have a responsibility. I mean, this is just who we are, because I can't sit here and say, you know what? Who's that?
Go ahead, Lemon.
Okay, I can't sit here and allow our humanity to not count, and not have an accountability to our humanity as being Black people. So I can't say if the judicial system is not humane, I think it's our responsibility to make it humane. And I can say that because I'm a living witness for it, because I came to a not guilty verdict. And I came to a not guilty verdict with the very things that they say systemically supposed to gave me a guilty verdict. Only different is, by the grace of God, I always acknowledge that first, if I'm nothing else. But I had all the system against me that says I'm supposed to have been doing 15 years in prison for something I'm sure emphatically I didn't do. Now, if hurting that man's feelings was a crime, then lock me up. But to say that I assaulted a person over 65 years old, coincidentally, that particular day was his birthday. Talk about chances. But that particular day was his birthday, and those planets just aligned, and those circumstances aligned on that particular time. But I still had an accomplishment, and this is why I tell anybody, at the end of the day, and I tell all my children this, and I literally live by this. I say at the end of the day, you're only responsible for the truth, not your truth, the truth. And so when people ask me like, well, when you went to court, what's the most important thing you took with you to court? I'm like, for me, it was the Bible, but the second thing was the truth. And so I think systemically, and I'm not going to lie to you, yes, they tried to make me lie on myself as a compromise to see, and this is the hardest part right here, Teeny. They tried to make me lie on myself. You ready for this, Teeny? To seem more humane. As if to them, being Black was not human enough or was not human at all. So I had to compromise, almost try to make me compromise the truth. You understand? To try to appease their truth. That was not the truth, though. And so I didn't compromise the truth. And because I didn't compromise the truth, and I had to make my public defender work for me. You know how many times I had to shut that man down and tell him, hey, stick to the script. Because after a while, hit the script he was trying to sell, and I'm going to be honest with you, the script he was trying to sell me, I would have gotten locked up. If I had not even made him stick to the truth. And this is a man that's supposed to be working for the system of truth and getting ready to try to make me compromise the truth. And so for me being and getting that firsthand and getting that experience firsthand, then it was a totally different outcome for me. So my narrative tend to be a little bit more different and realistic when it comes to seeing the bigger picture of what's going on. And so my condolences out to both of them, the young man who was killed and the black young man who was
Light boy.
and the black young man.
So, given your experience, how have you moved forward with the education of your kids based on that?
My kids get to actually see me in action. So my kids get to see me engage with the state attorney, who was actually one of the main forces that's trying to lock me up. I mean, they came with their A game. You just know the more important people. When they put important people on that case to try to lock me up, I already knew. But I didn't so I was like, listen, I didn't take it personal. I befriended the state attorney. And then I start to understand, to start to shape my narrative, you understand, to serve the very kids. Because I'm like, listen, it doesn't matter what I teach my kids, right? If my kids are not still seen as humane, you understand, then doesn't matter, because they can try to act human, but if the system doesn't see them as human, then I would have, guess what? I would have did half of the job, but not the whole job. And so I had to actually not only talk to my kids at the same time and advocate for my kids at the same time. I had to actually talk to the people who would potentially try to victimize my kids like they try to victimize me. And not because out of some type of intelligence. I think they purely unintentionally tried to victimize me out of pure ignorance. Because this is the way the system that guess what? This is the system that they swore, listen what I'm saying, that they swore to uphold. So when you swear to uphold something, you don't question it, you just follow it. And so I had to actually literally had to tell her, and that's back to your point, Ron, last week when we spoke about it. I had to call her out on the situation with the questionnaire that pretty much potentially, not potentially, but literally eliminated all the jurors on my trial, all the black jurors on my trial. And once I call her out there on that, then that's when we start. So, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was flabbergasted when Gaspar said the law has actually changed. And this is back to Frenchie's point. This is when I realized, like, hold on, we do matter. And people say make your voices matter. I said, but that doesn't just be. It's just not limited at the poll. It's unlimited to your perspective and who you engage it with. And so once you don't let these people come to your territory on your turf, you understand, and dominate the narrative. Because when they come on your turf, it's time for you to teach. And that's what I teach my kids.
And Lightburn, I'm glad you said that about the jury. With Carmelo Anthony, like, it's real bad. Like, they ain't even got they don't have no black juries. They got all white juries in their jurisdiction, and it doesn't make no sense. I think we got to do a boycott or something. I don't know what's going on that side when it comes to that case.
Well, let me. I'm glad you said that. The law will take care of itself. The lawyers that know what to do will go in. I mean, in many instances, I heard a lot of legal experts make point to say this is the perfect storm for his appeal and that. But I want to bring back to, as we get ready to close out, we ending about court, and we're talking about the court system. I want to talk about something that has always been shocking to me, is that in our communities, who we are, we know about the court. And we talk about the court way different than I think other people talk about the court. And it wasn't until I had a good friend of mine who's a lawyer, and when I asked him, hey, what kind of law you doing? Prosecution? You doing defense? You doing? And he told me, nah, I don't do any of that. I said, then what? I thought all the law was just that. And he explained to me, he said, no, I do probate. I said, probate? What, like probation? Because I'm ignorant to the cat. He said, no, I do where all the money at. The place where none of us normally even know that exists in the courthouse. When you go in there, and we go to the Floyd, we go to Broward, when you go down to Jacksonville courthouse, when you go to Miami-Dade courthouse, the floors that you never go to.
Right.
The higher floors, because they don't take the criminals or people from the jail to the higher floors, because that's not the lawyers. They don't go up there. They go to the middle, lower floors. They keep them on closer to get back on the bus. But when you go to like the 17th, 18th, Jacksonville, they got 20 floors. You go to 17th, 18th floor, and I don't know I don't know how many they got in for a lot of their Broward County now, but they got some real high floors. And you're like, the penthouses up there? No, that's what the people do in probate court. That's what it's all about. Nothing but money. And people seeing about making and getting money. A completely different judicial system than the one that we are somewhat entwined with. And so I want to leave that for fathers to think about, that we're thinking of talking about the court system, what happens there. And remember, we're not even getting to facilitate the whole court system because many people, if you even told them, asked them about what probate was, like when I was ignorant of the fact, they wouldn't even know anything about what probate was, because there's no such.
Ron,
because most of the people.
I gotta correct you on something.
But Ron,
I'm putting on my
can we
NASCAR hat.
also talk about though?
No, I wanted to correct them on that part. That
That,
doesn't work like that, Ron.
So
What
many,
if-
as someone
Go ahead.
who has been on the jury before, I just did jury duty last year. Heaven help me, because it is extremely difficult. How many of us people, just people, dodge jury duty? And
You just missed that
and
conversation last week.
historically, the people who, the community who has so much power, is in power, wants to be in more power, and comes together on these juries. And that is not also addressed here. And I do hope that this attorney does counter this judgment. Because he was not represented. We don't even know what town that he was in, that this jury was pulled from as well. So all of these factors. Then we also, one of the things that did not come up is that Carmelo was a rather small young man. He was only 5'8", about 150. And the other young man who unfortunately transitioned was 230 pounds and 6'1". And what does it say when even a small black man beats a white man? And they're going to find their way to win. And we cannot overlook the narratives and how racial bias has punished both of these children in one way or another. And we are losing our kids at the end of the day as a result of these historical biases that have been passed down from generation to generation.
All right. So listen, folks, but I want to say one last thing. I was want to highlight a post that I made this week when there was a lot of uproar about attorney Sean Kemp. That was the attorney for Mr. Child who got him not guilty charge in the Cyrus case, right? And people was really going hard at him, attacking him, and going to his page and saying he was this and that. And I was saying that, a solution to that is people should be trying to find a way to get him to come work. Should have got to find a way to come get him to work. Carmelo case. You know what I'm saying? These are the solutions that I would say. Listen, he was very good at getting Mr. Child off, and he had a passion about doing it, and he did it, and he got Mr. Child off. He surely could. He surely, because we don't got 130 miles, 130 yards chasing. Carmelo didn't go 130 yards to do anything. In this instance, he was just waiting and sit under the tent. That at least he could have got some kind of self-defense, acquittal or something from. And I'm not saying getting an acquittal because he needs to get off for somebody getting killed. Because I want to be very clear. I do not think anybody being killed is appropriate, but I think our as a people, and for me, let me not speak for nobody else. Let me just speak for myself. My compassion for other people is weakened when I see what happens to me and my people. I try to maintain a resilience with it, but it's very hard to do when you see things in a vision of you see when you just see. As soon as I said I seen something in my mind that was completely wrong. We know we can think about another stabbing case, right? Another stabbing case of the guy who stabbed the foreign lady on the bus in North Carolina, right? That was an attack. He went up to her, stabbed in the neck, she died. Right? That's not the same thing that happened in this case. And so I think that sometimes there are certain things publicized to show us stuff to say, hey, see the monsters, see how the monsters operate, but it's not fair and balanced when we're looking at monsters, because we have over 300, 400 years of monster behavior that almost is about to be erased, because they're going to say it's not valid. It doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't have any balance on what happens. So I just say to people, teach your children, no matter what their race is, teach them the history of America, not the sanctioned history, the true history of what happened, and maybe we can find more tolerance for each other as people. Because the tolerance level is low when people don't know each other's history in a true fashion.
Right. Ron, you also got to teach the fact that, yes, it may be everything is not racial, because this case was
right. Right.
But this case was equally racial as it was political. Let me be very clear. You don't know nothing else. Only thing more stronger than being racial is political, and the only reason you will be racial is for political reasons. You'll be surprised how many people play that game. But I owe this to Gaspar to clear this up real quick, Ron. Just like there's three forms of judicial government, government in America, or checks and balance when it comes to I think it's three. Then the same thing works for courthouses or the judicial arm, right? So when you said that most people don't know about probate, I'm like, I know probate because I was in a battle with that too. At some point, the more you grow as a Black person, you're gonna get acquainted with just about every. This is true for fathers too, particularly Black fathers. You're gonna get acquainted. The more you grow and the more successful you grow, you're gonna get acquainted with every court system in America. I can guarantee you. And if you own property, that's all a probate court is property. Whether you bought it yourself or whether you're leaving it to your loved ones, that's usually where most people fight over property. We know about child support, so I don't even have to go there. We know about family court because that's where most child support and all that stuff is initiated, and where you get your rights and stuff like that. And then, of course, the number one court that victimizes particularly Black people is the criminal court, which is where we're the most victimized, but it's where we can actually be the most vigilant, which is back to your point, Frenchie. We actually talked about this in depth last week when we said that, the voters polls is good, but we should have been simultaneously promoting voters registration and jurors participation at the same time with the same amount of resources and money. And what happened was we victimized ourselves by going top heavy on voters registration and pretty much almost with no money when it came to juror participation. So the strategy was not really thought of. I think most people, when it came to our progress, we were more status driven and not service driven. So that's something that we have to change.
All right.
So a quick run. As we move on from this forum, let's look at intervention. We discuss history, and we are the present as we speak. And intervention, we hope, can be used in the future to help these both families, both colored and non-colored, or culture and culture, to do better in the future. Whatever intervention we can apply, everyone in this room and everyone on the World Wide Web. Sometimes right is uncomfortable because, again, wrong seems to be the norm. And if we can make that one step to change that young lad, that young lady, we can make a big difference in someone's life. So any intervention, solution that will make it better, please, let's apply it, because I'm hoping that things get better for the future for our young people. Because I'm hoping that things get better for the future for.
All right, I'm giving Frenchie as a guest to the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Can I
give you
just add
one last
we
statement and then
close out? I do want to add this, and this is interesting, as now being certified as a financial planner. We have to invest in life policies, whole life, index universal life policies, because at some point it is guaranteed in our life as people of color, we're going to need the money we don't have. That's guaranteed. And the fact that you can get this policy from an infant and pay into it at pennies on the dollar and end up with, at minimum, $500,000, $1 million, if you pay into it from childhood all the way up. The money, what is there to compete against the wealthism that I spoke about earlier. And until we understand that we are competing against wealthism and that we are prepared to meet that, then we won't be ready as a community. And while we are making Nike wealthy and Gucci wealthy, and we got little Prada babies and Fendi babies, they're still not ready for when we need the real money. And so I'm just encouraging us to be educated and way more familiar with the pathways of financial wellness, that oftentimes we are just simply financially lazy in ways that we do not have to be. And we have to put that work in.
French, you have to come back for that one, because we're going to definitely dive into that one. I can't wait to disagree with you on that. So come back, please.
So with that being said, I want to thank everybody, especially our special guest tonight who joined us on the Fatherhood Think Tank, Frenchie Davis. What's today? Wednesday? Oh no, that'll be tomorrow. That'll be Thursday. You can catch her on Thursdays morning, 6 to 8. WBAI New York station. You just go do what I do every morning, WBAI, and hit the station. She's on there from 6 to 8. And then on Sunday, she has her show, The Abolitionist. That is, and I'm usually a frequent guest on there on WBAI, New York, on Sundays at 2:00. You just hit the button when you go to the website. Hit the button, listen live, and you can call in. It's not one of them shows where people be on there just talking and you can't give your voice about what the conversation is. So I want to thank you for joining us tonight. It is so great to have a woman's presence in the Fatherhood Think Tank. It's because sometimes people think that we are biased and no women are allowed or this and that. And it's not that space, because fathers can only be as good as the women that's around them that hold the
not the amazing men I know. They don't do that.
So I definitely want to thank all you guys for being here tonight. Again, I want to thank our sponsors. Johnny Gaspar, he left us a message. He said he wasn't able to come tonight, but again, if you're looking for an attorney, you can find him right on the website. He's making fun of my 400 years of monster behavior. Okay, you can always reach him. Again, I just want to always give a sponsor. So a good shout out to Jag Attorney at Law. Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. If you're looking for an attorney at law in the area, he's the man. Johnny Gaspar Esquire. Get him at j.gaspar@jag1law.com. Number 305-827-8087. Or hit his website, www.jag1law.com. And I definitely want to thank our support staff, our partnerships with the fraternities in Fort Lauderdale, Lagos, Nigeria, and Philadelphia. I want to thank those three chapters who are always here to help and be a part of this and support us as always. With that being said, fathers, if you would like to kindly repeat after me, I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
That you are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship father.
Champions of the fathers of the world.
You know that when we see this pose, we have our kids holding our kids up on our arm and our community on our backs. And we want to thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you here next week. Another episode of the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Have a blessed weekend, fam.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right.